You have $100 right now. Here's exactly how I would invest it as a millennial female investor who isn't afraid to invest in individual companies. When I'm analyzing an individual company to buy, there's 5 main criteria that I look at to start with. And I'm going to show you exactly what the screenshots look like in my own brokerage account and inside Fidelity. This video is not sponsored. I just personally use and love them. So for this example, let's say I'm analyzing Google. I'm first going to search for the ticker symbol within my brokerage account and pull up its overview tab. The first criteria I look at is the sector. I want to know what industry is this company a part of? What's its competition? Do I recognize other companies within it? And I can see here that Google is in the communication services sector. So if I click on this little button here, I can see other companies within this sector. And they include Netflix, Disney, Warner Brothers, Verizon, Comcast. These are all companies that I know and I'm familiar with how they make money. So that's a good start. Second thing I check is the market cap or the market capitalization. This tells me the value of the company relative to the entire market and helps me understand the risk level that I'm taking. So I can see here that Google is considered a mega cap stock valued at $2.39 trillion. As a general rule, large cap companies over $10 billion tend to be more stable, whereas small cap companies may grow faster but tend to be more volatile. So for me personally, if I'm investing in an individual company, I'm only looking at companies that are in that large or mega cap valuation. The third criteria I look at is the PE ratio or the forward PE ratio, and this just stands for price to earnings ratio. So you can think of the PE ratio as how much are you paying for every $1 that the company earns. So if we look at Google's PE ratio here, it's 17.87. That just means for every dollar that Google earns, I'm paying $17.87. And it's a way to gauge whether or not a company might be overvalued or undervalued compared to its future profit potential. The fourth criteria I check is the stock's 52-week high and low. So I can see this up here in the right-hand corner. Its 52-week low, which means the lowest price it's been in the last year, is $190.12, whereas its 52-week high, or the highest amount that it's traded at in the last year, is $408.61. And you can see by the little diamond on the bar there that it's closer to the 52-week high than the 52-week low. The way I look at this is that if the price is closer to the 52-week high, this means that the company or the stock has strong momentum and there's investor confidence in it. If it's closer to the 52-week low, this could mean that it's a great buying opportunity or a warning sign. So I'd have to do a little bit more research there. And the fifth criteria I look at is the dividend yield versus the free risk rate. And this is just a fancy way of saying the rate that you could earn on a treasury bond with literally zero risk. So if a stock pays a dividend yield lower than the free risk rate, so lower than what I could get on an investment with no risk at all, I'm taking on risk for less income than I could get on a safer bet. So for example, if a stock pays you 2.5% as a dividend yield, but a treasury bond or a government bond is at 4.5%, that's a lot of risk that you're taking by investing in that individual stock instead. So you can see here that Google really isn't a dividend stock. It only pays a 0.25% dividend yield compared to the market average of 2.63%. So that just means that if I was looking for dividend income, I wouldn't necessarily look at Google as a good investment for that. But you also have to consider that if a stock has a lower dividend yield than the free risk rate, that doesn't necessarily mean don't buy it, but the company better have some strong growth potential to justify that gap. So now you've got a quick 5-step framework to evaluate any individual stock before you buy. As a group, us women tend to avoid risk and we lose out on a lot of compound growth because of it. And in some cases, imposter syndrome keeps us out of the market entirely. But you just proved that you can do this, so follow for more personal finance and investing content in plain English. Class is dismissed.